Did you know that many of the apps we use in Africa today are simply versions of ideas already built in the West? Same model, same structure, just different location. So the real question is, are we truly innovating or just copying? These are the things we're going to be talking about today on the program on Tech Hub. My name is Victor Arke. But before we get into that, let's give you some of the information, the things that are happening in the world of tech right now. The Nigerian Communications Commission has directed telecom companies to compensate customers for poor network service. And this means if your network is bad in your area, you may get compensation in the form of airtime. The NCC says this is to protect users and make sure people don't suffer because of poor service from network providers. Well, according to the Commission, any telecom operator that fails to meet service standards will have to pay affected users directly. The airtime given will depend on how much the customer spends and how long they were affected. Away from that story, across Africa, startup funding is showing early signs of recovery in 2026. Startups raised over $575 million between January and February, with a strong rebound in February alone. But here's the shift. Investors are now backing businesses that can generate revenue and survive long term. Artificial intelligence is dominating global tech. In just the first 2 months of 2026, AI startups attracted over $200 billion in investment globally, showing how fast the space is growing. So the big picture in 2026 is clear. Technology is growing fast, but survival, relevance, and ownership are now the real focus. And that brings us to today's conversation. Innovation or imitation? Are we just copying the West? And joining me on the conversation today is Jude Obiejesi, the founder of Build Initiative and someone who is deeply involved in shaping ideas, builders, and innovation in this space. Jude, great to have you on the conversation.
Good to have you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk about the conversation, basically. Do you think, from what you've seen, that Africa is truly innovating, or are we mostly just imitating?
Well, I would say we have innovators here in Africa. Even in Nigeria here, we have a lot of great innovators. And I wouldn't say entirely imitating, right? Yes, we have some ideas and some adaptations we are just adopting from the Western ecosystem. But I wouldn't just accurately say it's just entirely imitation, right? Because I believe our ecosystem is actually going through an evolution process, right? And I believe every developed ecosystem of the world, in Europe, in America, they actually passed this stage of evolution, right? So I think that is where we are at, even when it looks like we are actually copying some models, right, from the Western world. But I think most of the startup founders here in Nigeria, precisely because I have to talk about this environment, this is where I understand more. So they are actually also coining it to their environment, the ecosystem, right? Because yes, we have to copy some of these models, right? But then they don't really actually appeal to our environment, right? Because the way the Americans actually see financing, let's just use fintech for instance, right? In America, fintech is more or less for to have a faster processing of payments. But here it's more or less for like access to finance, right? Yeah. So if you look at some of the models, you see like Money Points and the rest of them, what they are trying to do with the POS system at all. Yeah, these are innovative systems. We haven't seen it anywhere in the world, right? So they are actually peculiar to our ecosystem, to our kind of environment. So somehow I would say we are more even being innovative than we are being imitating, right?
So if you say that you use the fintech that I talked about, right? there's only a model there.
Yeah.
So we're basically taking what is already working out there, bringing it down to Nigeria or even to Africa.
Yeah.
Same thing with the streaming platforms.
Yes.
All right. We imitate what they do there and bring it back here. So again, why do you think most Africans actually prefer to copy some of these models than, build from the scratch?
Well, when you already see something that works, so there is no need building from scratch. You just plug the model and just plug it in, just like a plug and play, right? So you just take it from there, put it in the ecosystem, and then channel it to the kind of people you are trying to address. So there is no need building something from scratch, while you can actually, there are kind of plugins you can actually just plug into and just build your systems, right? So I have a fintech application called SendBit, which allows freelancers to create invoices. But when we were trying to build that, we don't start building from scratch, right? Because some of these things have already existed. Some of these APIs are actually available. So what you're going to do is just to plug into those systems and then make it available to where you are actually trying to channel.
Yeah.
So for me, building from scratch doesn't make sense. If there is something that already exists, you can just copy.
Right.
Yes.
And again, when I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, he said something, said it is possible that many founders actually tilt towards this angle. In other words, here in Africa, if you can replicate what already works out there and it works for you here, founders can come in and do the same thing. Do you apply the same thought?
Yeah, of course, I do, because here we have a kind of market, right? So if you actually see something that is working maybe in America or in Europe, precisely maybe UK and some part of Europe, you see some of those things and then you just want to duplicate them here. Yeah, you're going to attract some eyes on you, right? You're going to attract some users as well.
Yeah.
Because here also we are trying to see some of those systems we see abroad, right? We want to see them here, peculiar to us, right? I would want to use a payment application that is actually Nigerian, right? Which more or less I know where their office is in Lagos or their office is in Abuja, rather than maybe using a solution in Europe and maybe just like let's just use an instance of PayPal. If I have an issue with PayPal, I don't know, I can yes, exactly. So those things are kind of things I see that founders can also do from here.
All right. Let's even get in context what innovation actually, what does true innovation mean for us here in Nigeria, using the Nigerian context?
So innovation is actually more or less looking into our own problems, right? And then trying to solve it our own way. Okay. Right? I use again the instance of MoneyPoint because so far in the fintech space, I think that is one of the most innovative ideas I've seen, right? Yeah. Because we needed how, if you could check last year, I think MoneyPoint processed up to billions and billions of transactions. Surely. So you could see, and if you go to rural areas, you could see that MoneyPoints are everywhere. So they more or less brought people that couldn't actually have an easy access to finances, brought them in. So they actually tackled our problem our own way, right? Being innovative, our own way, that actually speak to the Nigerian market, to our ecosystem. So that is what I believe, right? So when you are being an innovator or when you're being a founder in Nigeria and you're not actually tackling our problem, I think you're building for nobody. Okay. Yes, you're actually just building for nobody. And then it brings you to that phase where you see a lot of solutions that gets into the market but fizzles out in 2 years, 3 years, and because they don't actually target the problems that people have. Yeah.
So in other words, paying attention to what is ours, looking into our own situation, and then bringing a solution to it. But if you also look at the Nigerian system or the African system, what are some of the problems that you think that we desire, like an original solution from the scratch, more peculiar to us as Nigerians or even as a continent, Africa?
Well, one of the things I've actually looked at more intensively this period, more in more recent time, is mortgages, right?
Mortgages, is that?
Yes, yes.
Do we even have that system?
They claim there are mortgages in Nigeria, but I actually haven't used any. Like I have to pay for everything outright. Yeah. Right. So, and is a problem, is a challenge. So if we could have some people who are going to walk around those areas, it's an innovative space, right? If you actually tackle problems of having people pay 10% for maybe their cars, and then they spread it across, and not yielding too much interest, right? Because now I think I can see some people saying car loans, and you see how they are marketing about maybe 25 million naira car, and say you can spread it, and then by the time you are spreading it, the car is shooting up to 60, 70 million, which is, you know,
it's ridiculous,
just ridiculous, and nobody just going to go into that. So, but then if you have some of these systems which are already existing in Europe, right, you can plug it into the system, like into our space, in our ecosystem, and bring. There are going to be some accelerator programs who are going to back this up, right?
Surely.
So I feel these are challenges, these are problems that we need more innovators to actually, you know, tackle, because they are quite interesting space for us, and it quite speaks to our challenge as a people.
As a people.
Yes.
Now, when you talked about the mortgage system, the first thing that came to mind are the real estate companies that we have in Nigeria. And the truth is, just like you stated, many times you've got to pay outrightly. And if you don't pay outrightly, if you're going to spread your payment, to an extent, you might just regret why you took that decision.
Exactly.
And again, that's something that's also peculiar to us here as a country. So where people want to take advantage of these things, using the local parlance, they rip you off.
Of course.
You know, they create a system that's supposed to be a solution, but that becomes a problem for us as a people. You know, but again, talking about imitation and innovation. Now, having a conversation again with a friend of mine, and we were talking about some of the things that we copy from the Western world. And she made mention of the fact that we still operate from what she referred to as post-colonialism. In other words, we still depend solely on the Western world for certain things that needs to be done. Again, I talk about the streaming platforms. We first saw it there, and then we copied it here. So many times, if it is not tested in the Western world, if it has not been tried in the Western world, we are afraid to actually try and test it or even build it from the scratch here. So my question is, are we actually thinking globally, or we are still struggling with that form of, you know, post-colonization when it even comes to creating here in Africa, or in Nigeria more specifically now?
Okay. So when it comes to that area, I think I have some reservations around it, because our market is not as the European market, right? So there are certain things you can't do here. They always refer to this place as an emerging market. It's not that developed well, right? So there are certain things, there are certain technologies that is not available for us. So we can't just really just build from here. So because you might actually be too early, and then you are going to fail, right? Because I think I have noticed most startups that they quite appear too early. Because maybe the environment is not yet ready. The ecosystem support is not yet there. So if they venture into it, it's just a total failure. So we just have to just cling to what is already existing outside there. Because in their environment, they have support system that supports those technology to actually work. So that is my belief in that. So I don't think it's a problem. It's the market where we belong. Right? The environment where we belong. This is still a growing market. It's just what it is. It's a growing market.
Now, I remember one of my episodes, and I had the episode with Phoebe, a friend of mine, and we talked about community management, where you get to, of course, build a community around the products or service that you are creating, and that way you get to actually prepare the mind of people that this product is coming, this service is coming. Do you think that could also be a viable option for every tech product or service? Because you talked about the fact that the market might not just be ready for certain solution that's coming on board, but also think that the founder should have a role to play in ensuring that people's mind are prepared towards that. So beyond community management, like I discussed with my friend Phoebe, what are other steps that we can take to prepare the mind, of the market to ensure that once this solution comes on board, it can be accepted?
So one of the things I usually talk about when I have opportunity to talk about this kind of conversations, I always say you have your beta testing, right? You know, as a founder, before I roll out any application I'm building on, I have to run my beta test for like 6 months, right? In order to actually know, does this work?
Yeah.
Is it going to work actually at the end of it? So when you do that beta test, you just roll it out to the public and see what is the general acceptance of this. Like, do people accept it? Do people see it as something that quite addresses their problem?
Yeah.
Right? So as a founder, as an innovator in this space, right, you don't just roll out building, right? Because at the end of the day, you might just waste resources. So try means to beta test, right? Even the European environment, they do beta testing,
right?
Because it's not every innovation that actually comes to your mind is what actually appeals to the public, right? It might appeal to a certain level of people, but not to the general masses.
That's right.
So you might build a solution that quite addresses a problem for some guys who are committed to maybe gaming, right? But when you roll out that solution public, it might not appeal to a lot of people. So I think one of the best way to actually tackle all those issues is make sure, don't be quick to, you know, build something and bring it to the public.
Okay.
You know, people are always in a rush to actually do that. Take your time.
Right.
Yeah, have your stages, you know, do your beta tests, you know, make sure that this, and not beta testing with 10 people, right?
Okay.
Beta test with a lot number of people, right? And then people who you think that are not even your market, right? Then try and see, because you're just beta testing, you're just testing out.
Right.
So you get to see what actually appeals. What do I need to tweak? What do I need to modify before, you know, okay, building it full-fledged and then rolling out to the public market.
Not just a family people.
No. Definitely, and not just your friends,
Exactly.
Because your friends will actually just
they won't tell you the truth most times.
Yeah.
Like, my guy, you're doing good.
Yeah, it's a cool idea, and then so you bring it to the market, and then
like,
it fails.
It becomes
exactly.
like, you've been talking about building, and I remember you are the founder of Build Initiative. So perhaps that's why building. But again, how do we now move from? I mean, young founders now. How do we move from copying to building actual products?
Well, so this which you have mentioned, building, how to, you know, position young minds. These are true hackathons, true boot camps, because there's no proper way to actually position their mind to actually build for maybe the market where they are, and talk about, because first, before you go global, you have to localize first.
Right.
Because you have to dominate in Nigeria before you talk about going to UK. If you look at Flutterwave, you know, Paystack, they sank in well in Nigeria before they started going to Kenya, going to every other places. So how to do that very well is just first, you know, boot camps, hackathons, you know, have young minds build innovative ideas through hackathons programs, and then, you know, from there allow maybe small entities use it, you know, and from there, you know, continue pushing it forward, and then from there it becomes, I know many ideas, many solutions that, you know, came out of just maybe a hackathon project, stuff like that, and it continue being modified, it continue being invested on, and then at the end of everything, it became a full-fledged application that everybody uses. Right. So just like with the same story of Mark Zuckerberg, there are many of them here. It's just that, okay, most times you don't have that, how will I put it, that ecosystem that actually solely supports. Right. So that's the thing. But how young minds can actually do that is join many hackathons. Join as many hackathons as possible. Yes. Build, because at your younger stage, what you have to do is just to build and just show yourself. Right. From there, something good will just come out of it. I just believe so.
Very true. Now let's advise young founders, basically. You know, if you're speaking to a group of them right now, how are you going to advise them to, whilst they are copying these ideas from the West, also maintain originality here in our country, Nigeria, and of course in our continent? What's going to be your advice to them?
So, copying is not solely bad. Like copying is just solely bad. And somehow people also tell me it's maybe copy and paste and stuff like that. Well, what is bad now is you are copying the entire model, you are copying the entire thing, and then you're not putting in mind the people you are actually building it for. Right. So if I am to talk to young innovators, young builders, so I will actually advise you on, yes, copyright. Right. So copyright, and then make sure that what you are copying, it's actually something that is going to be appealing to or resonate with the people you are copying it for, right? Because there is no need for you to. I see when I go for events, I get approached by young guys, say they are building so many amazing things, and I look at it, I'm like, well, I don't know if this resonates with us at the present time where we are. We have a lot of challenges when it comes to the tech space that need to be addressed first before this comes to play. Right. So I would say look at your environment, right? Then look at the problems those things you're trying to copy is going to address. Now, when you copy them, now bring it to the environment where you are, and then tweak it in to how it's going to favor me, the user. Because if it's not going to favor me, obviously I'm not going to use it. So I'm going to, maybe if it's an app, I'm going to install it, and then 2 weeks down the line, 2 months down the line, and install it for something better, right? But there are some great innovations, some great apps that you make space for on your phone, right? You make space for them. But if it's not innovative enough, it is not addressing one key problem I have, I'm going to remove it, even for a game app, right? So you have to make sure that what you're trying to copyright, like that's the main message, copyright. So you don't just copy and paste. So you're copying every single thing, the models, the infrastructure, the APIs, and every single thing, and they are not working here. I know some persons, when I was in Lagos, they tried to do this same thing of PayPal, trying to use email address to send payments to people. It's not going to work here. We don't even have that. We are struggling to have a good identification system here, and then you want to do payment with email. It's not going to work. So if you bring it here, it's going to
not right now.
Not right now. Not right now. So you have to just see that you are looking at what works to this for these people. So if you are copying anything from there, then channel it to the environment where you belong at the moment, and then tweak it in, and then I believe it's going to scale. Even if it fails, you learn from it. That's right. And then the key word there is copying right. Copying right. When you talked about the email payment, first thing that came to mind is that Nigerians, we have trust issues. To start with, we need to be. We need to work with what works for us, what we are familiar with. Exactly. So if you're introducing something new, you have to bring it in subtly, before you can now full-fledged, let it into here. But again, thank you so much, Jude, for being here with us. We do appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I really appreciate being here. Thank you. Before we go, let's go on a break. When we'll come back, we'll give you a tech tip of the day. Do stay with us. In a world where every swipe, click, or tap is shaping our future, technology is no longer a distant dream. It is the heartbeat of Africa and the world at large. From innovations to gadgets to startups and digital lifestyles, Tech Up with Victor takes you round. A show that makes technology simple, practical, and exciting for everyone. Join us every week on RapidTV as we break down tech trends, spotlight African innovators, and connect Africa's digital story to the global stage. Tech Up with Victor, where innovation meets you. Here's a tech tip of the day. Don't just copy success, understand it. Ask yourself, why did this idea work? Can it solve a real problem here in our country or in our continent, Africa? Because what works there may not always work here. Remember that.
Moving on to the how-to segment. Quick guide on how to move from imitation to innovation. 1. Study existing ideas. Understand your local problem. Adapt, don't just copy. Add something new and test it in your environment, and that's how re-innovation starts. Remember, innovation is not just about being first, it is about being relevant. Big thanks again to Jude Obiejesi for joining us on the conversation today. My name is Victor RK, and this is Tech Up. Until next time, stay techy.